Okay, look, I get it. You can see in the video that the Luger did in fact jam. But before you go running off and go, oh, Luger's jam all the time. This was after he fired it twice sideways. After he limp wrist fired a couple of rounds. The dude intentionally had poor shooting posture and tried everything he could, basically, to get it to jam. If you limp wrist a 1911 or hold it sideways, if you do the same things, you might get a very similar jam. If you do that with a Glock, you might get a similar jam. Okay, if you intentionally use the firearm in a way that's not meant to be used, you just might get a jam. Now, with that in mind, is this jam really catastrophic? Yeah, it is, because he tried to cycle it several times and he had to end up ramrodding it with a pen. Okay, that's not great, because let's be real, on a Glock or on a 1911, you could just rock the slide back a couple times and it'd probably pop loose. Although, I have seen rounds stovepipe themselves in such a way that you would still have to ramrod anyways. That being said, the pistol isn't bad because you limp wrist or fire it sideways and it jams. Alright. For one, the Luger back in the day was actually a pretty cheap pistol that was reasonably reliable for its time, which is why a lot of World War I and World War II German officers gravitated towards it. Now, when something better came out, like a P-38, everybody went to that. Now, with that, all of that being said, if we take the most reliable pistol in the world and we limp wrist it, and we flip it sideways, and we fire it up, down, side down, and we use it in ways it's not intended to be used, even something as legendary as the P-38 or a 1911 or a ZZ-75, any of those have the possibility of jamming. Now, one thing you can argue on is how catastrophic the jam is. And on a Luger, if it's always going to need a ramrod, then that might be rather annoying. Although, if you know it's always going to need a ramrod because you've been practicing with it and you've dealt with several jams, you're probably going to carry one, aren't you?